Today's presentation is on situational awareness, and apparently a lot of people are interested in this subject. I looked there in between, I think between the two sessions, we had 150 people signed up for this webinar. And I know a lot of people sign up and can't attend live, and so they're going to go back and watch it after the fact. But that's a lot of people to be interested in a subject, and I think this is one of those important subjects for our day, and so we'll dive in and talk about this. But I wanted to start off with a story, personal story that happened to me and my son about 10 years ago. My son had got a special tag to hunt an elk. It was a cow elk hunt. He was excited about it. It was his first big game hunt. Sorry if you're not into hunting out there. No animals die in this story. But if you are into hunting, sorry, no animals die in this story. So my son got this special permit to be able to take an elk, and so and we're really excited about it because the timing of it was right during the rut, or the breeding season for elk, and it's a really exciting time to be in the mountains. If you've ever been in the elk woods in the month of September, there's nothing quite like it. It's just an electric time. The animals are really motivated, we'll say. The elk bugle, and the leaves are beautiful and on the trees, and it's just a great time to be out. And as a father, I'm excited about this opportunity to take my son and show him some of the things that I really enjoy as a person. So we took on this trip, and the first day we're out, and the elk were just singing. The bulls were bugling from place to place, and that makes it really nice because we know where the animals are. We weren't looking for a bull, but the bulls will be around where the cows are. And so we started chasing bugles, and we're tromping around in the woods looking for these animals, and we get close to a bull. We can hear him. And so we hunker down and get ready, thinking that, well, the bull comes along, there'll probably be our quarry right there with him. Sure enough, here comes this bull out, and he is a massive, massive bull. For the hunters out there, it was in the order of a 350 or 360 inch bull, just a really big bull, and he was screaming and he was mad. And he walked within just a few yards of where my son and I were. And I looked over at my son, and I could see him. He's breathing hard, and you could see his heart pounding in his chest. And he was just super excited at this, and didn't have an opportunity to take a cow elk there. But when this bull had moved through, we kind of high-fived each other and like, wow, that was just an awesome experience. And we start walking off, and I look over to the side, and I see this rock outcropping, and I can see an opening in the rocks. And this opening looks like something that I had seen before. And so I motioned for my son to come over, and we walked over to this opening in the rocks. I said, "You see what that is?" And he's like, "It's a cave." I said, "Well, it's more than a cave." I said, "This is a bear den. The bears live in there. You could see by the sign there, you could smell. Bears are not the most pleasing things to smell. They're stinky." And so as we walk up to this bear den, I could smell the odor that a bear's been there. And I'm pointing this stuff out to my son. I'm like, not many people get to see this. And so we walk right up to it, just a few feet away, and I get out my phone, and I'm taking a picture of that as I'm explaining things to my son, when suddenly I hear a sound. And the sound came from inside the bear den. And I thought, oh, this isn't good. And so I grabbed my son's arm, and we run a few steps away and get to relative safety. And I said, "Did you hear that?" And my son says, "Hear that? I saw that." And he had seen the bear's nose stick out of the opening of this bear den. Apparently Mr. Bear was still home. And we had walked up to within just a few feet when he stuck his head out, or she. I didn't get that personal with the bear, but then the bear starts popping its teeth. They make a threatening sound by clicking their teeth together when they're threatened. And anyway, so we enjoyed that experience as we got to safety there. And I've thought back on this experience a number of times. It's something that my son and I will always laugh about and remember for a long time. But it was one of those things that my situational awareness was not very good that day. I was taking in lots of information. I could smell the bear. I could see the location and all of these things. But my excitement for showing my son what was there kind of clouded my situational awareness that this bear may still be there. And so it was an example to me of how our situational awareness can fail if we're not paying attention to that. Well, what is situational awareness? There are a lot of definitions. This is a concept that arose from military service to start with, and then bled over into law enforcement. And my question as I considered this subject was, how does situational awareness apply to safety, apply to our own situation, day in, day out? A lot of people talk about situational awareness in personal protection and facing threats, and it's good for that. But I believe that situational awareness is a technique that we can use for our own safety, and everyone should be using it. And I think a lot of us probably do, day in and day out, have a certain level of awareness, but sometimes we're like me, walking up to the bear den, and I just didn't have 100% of the awareness that I needed to. Well, as I did research on this, I looked at a ton of different definitions of what does situational awareness means. And what does it mean? And I didn't like a lot of them. Some of them were good, and there are different elements there. So I came up with my own back in the day. And my definition of situational awareness is knowing your environment at every level and reacting and responding appropriately. We need to identify, what is it? How bad is it? And what do I do about it? That's situational awareness. Our brain interacts with this whole process. If you can remember, I love this picture, not the best quality picture, but it just highlights what happens in our mind when we face a threat. There are a couple of it's how our brain works, psychology, and it manifests itself through our metabolism and all of those things. These subjects of fight or flight or normalcy bias come together and can really impact how we see the world and how we react. So let's just go back through, what is fight or flight? From an evolutionary standpoint, if you're out walking across the Serengeti plain and Mr. Lion walks out and you look and recognize that Mr. Lion is there, or he starts chasing after you, your body, your brain, and then your body has a reaction. It's called the fight or flight response. My brain says, I've either got to run away and get away from this threat, the lion, or I've got to fight. And we may actually use both of those. The physiological reaction that happens in fight or flight is our brain says, uh-oh, fight or flight. And instantly our body is going to react. We start pumping adrenaline, other hormones will release. Certain things happen my eyesight may change, my pupils may dilate, my digestive system may just turn off during that time. It doesn't need to digest any food because we got to stay alive right now. We have to respond to this type of stimulus. Okay. That fights with the other term here, which is normalcy bias. Normalcy bias is kind of just the opposite, where fight or flight is I'm reacting to external stresses or risks, or something is after me. The normalcy bias is kind of opposite of that. It's our brain's coping mechanism to all of the information, all the stimulus that comes into us. Well, what does that mean? Well, there's all kinds of information that my brain is taking in. Through my eyes, I can see, boy, there's lots of snow out there. The sky is blue. There are cars driving by. My ears are able to hear certain things. By my sense of touch, you have clothes on right now. I hope you have clothes on, but you're probably not feeling your clothing touching your skin right now because of normalcy. Our brain wants to say, well, it's normal that those clothes are there. We're going to turn that off so your nerve endings on your skin are really not paying attention to those clothing, because our brain has limited means of processing information. And if we try to take in all of that stuff, that can be problematic. Our brain will just go into overload mode and we might miss something that's really important. Okay, also with normalcy bias, our brain tries to make things normal, make it something that we have experienced before. So if somebody calls up and says, we got a problem, get out here right now, what goes through your brain? Well, what's normal? Oh, I know those guys in whatever department or we want to talk about, they always mess something up on a Monday morning, and I have to go fix their paperwork. Well, it may be that there is a serious emergency in that area, and we walk into something that is extremely risky for us because my brain is set on normal. We take whatever it is that the stimulus that we're getting, and our brain tries to make it something that we can understand. That doesn't work in an emergency. That doesn't work in unfamiliar situations. So we're balancing these things out. Fight or flight is great, but I can't be on hyper fight or flight mode for too long because I burn out. On the other side of that, normalcy bias can put me at risk. And so we're trying to work between those two. Well, how do I do that? How do I go about doing that? Well, that's where situational awareness comes in, and intentionally practicing our situational awareness. There were a lot of memes that popped up and different things as I was preparing this one, but this one kind of stuck out to me. This was General Mad Dog Mattis said, "Be polite, be professional, but have a plan to kill everyone you meet." Now, I'm not telling you to plan to kill people, but I thought it was an interesting standpoint that this general wants his soldiers to have a plan about whatever it is. Have a plan to kill anybody you meet because they may be a threat. And I think we can use something similar, except instead of killing people, it's handling every threat that we face. And threats can be an extension cord across our path. It can be a vehicle out on the road that's where the driver's not paying attention. Those are the hazards that we need to be ready to kill. Okay, so situational needs to be done in all that we do, whether we're driving, whether I'm sitting in the office. Obviously, my situational awareness is going to vary throughout the day, depending on what task I'm doing. If you go into something that is very new to you, you're going into a different neighborhood, it's after dark, and let's say I'm walking down the street in a neighborhood and somebody's kind of shadowing me. Well, my situational awareness is going to be turned on 100% at that point. Whereas if I'm sitting at my desk typing up a report, well, I don't have to be quite as aware of those other things. Just a point on this, technology has not helped our situational awareness. This is basically, I open my phone, I turn off my brain. And that's a huge risk to us. Okay, let's go through just kind of three elements of situational awareness. One is perception of elements in the current situation. Cognition. What is it? What is out there? Last or 2 weeks ago, we had in our leadership summit series, we had the author of this book, Amy Herman, came in and talked about visual intelligence and the art of perception. What do we see? And she spent, was it 3 hours, Mike? I think it was 3 hours going through various different artworks and asking us, what do you see here? And by the end of that, everybody that attended that session went, wow, I didn't really see a lot of that stuff when we started out, but I'm starting to open my mind to this. Same thing goes with situational awareness. What is your perception of your environment? Some information isn't worth a lot, right? Some information it doesn't have a great amount of value, but other information has a lot. So what is it? How bad is it? The second part is comprehension of the current situation. We have to use our judgment. What is it? How bad is it? And then the last part is, what do I do about it? Projection of future status. We have to make decisions based on what we've identified and how big a threat that is to us. There may be something that, well, it's a big threat, but it's not a threat to me. There's a big boulder on the side of that mountain that could roll down, but I'm in a position where it can't get me. So I don't have to make a decision about that. What is it? How bad is it? And what do I do about it? If I don't identify a hazard, it's still a hazard to me. If I identify a hazard and I don't make a decision of what action I'm going to take, it may still get me. Okay. All right. Keep moving here so I don't go too long. So in situational awareness, I thought this graphic was pretty good. What, so what, and now what? Kind of goes along that same line. What is it? So what? What does it mean to me? And now what do I do with that information? Okay, let's do just a really quick quiz. Let's have everybody close your eyes and look, and I want you to point to the nearest wastebasket. Okay, where's the nearest garbage can? Okay, and open your eyes and look around and see, did the other people point to the same garbage can? Was there a garbage can there where you pointed? Okay, let's do it again. Close your eyes and point to the nearest exit to the building. All right, now open your eyes, look around the room. Did everybody point to the same exit? Is there more than one exit? Did you identify that there is more than one exit? That's one of those things when you get on an airplane and they say, I want you to look and find the nearest 2 exits, because one of those exits may be closer, but it's behind you, and so you don't pay attention to those things. As you go into a building, what is your situational awareness asking yourself? What are you looking for? Are you looking for a way out of the building? I love my wife. She is the meaning of my life. She is wonderful. But I told her if she makes me go back to IKEA one more time, I'll divorce her. Because I hate IKEA. As a safety guy, IKEA is a terrible building because there's no easy exit from that building. It is hard to maintain your situational awareness because they make you go through the maze and wander through this building. As a risk guy, that's bad in my mind. And so as we look around, what is around us? You know, where is your nearest fire extinguisher? We won't do the exercise on all of these things, but point to the fire extinguisher. Point to the first aid kit. Where is the nearest hazard? What's the thing that is nearest to you that could be a risk to you? Okay. Now, how bad is it? And what are you going to do about it? All right, just a couple of examples. And talking about technology, some of these graphics I think really pointed out. Are you one of the people that wear earbuds? And you put earphones in your ear and you're always listening to some music or a podcast or whatever it is. And I'm not talking that stuff down, but it takes away from my situational awareness. There are times when the music needs to turn off. Have you ever turned down the radio in your car so you can make sure the intersection is clear, so you can make sure everything is right in your driving? The radio doesn't have anything to do maybe with the overall situation, but it helps you process information better if I've got fewer inputs. And so look at your situation and what is taking away from my awareness. Is it the phone? Is it the earphones? Is it maybe the conversation with the person that's around me, or something totally different? Let's just take a couple of examples quickly. Have you ever cut down a tree? What kind of situational awareness would you want to have around felling a tree? Well, as I was looking at information for this presentation, I found a guide for situational awareness produced by the Forest Service, USDA Forest Service. And they had produced a really good guide on the criteria for felling a tree. And a lot of you out there may be involved in public works or parks and recreation, and you might have occasion to use a chainsaw. What would you look at? Well, what's the angle of the tree? What's the condition of the tree? Because sometimes when you start cutting that tree, it may be rotten inside of that trunk, and it may break far sooner than you think. And there's some great videos out there of trees just exploding as people are trying to cut those down, or trees that go the wrong direction. What is my environment? They even go so far in this guide to talk about the lumberjack's caloric intake. How much food are you eating when you're doing this really demanding type of work? All right. So that may not apply to everybody when it comes to felling trees, but what about mowing the lawn? What is your situational awareness when you mow the lawn? I know for a lot of people, mowing the lawn is very therapeutic, right? I love to mow my lawn. Since I got a riding lawnmower, I really enjoy it. My wife and I argue over who gets to mow the lawn. Because it's a good time to do nothing but focus on making the lawn look better. But is situational awareness required when mowing the lawn? Ask yourself, have you ever hit something with your lawnmower when you've been out there mowing the lawn? And I have to admit that I have. And I make it a point to walk the lawns before I ever start the lawnmower up, to pick up the sprinklers, anything that may have gotten left out on the lawn. But occasionally it's happened over the years where something got past me. My situational awareness wasn't there. What is it about mowing the lawn that could be risky to me? Well, there's a whole laundry list of things. What is it? How bad is it? And what do I do to control it? Many of you out there work in the right of way. You're out working in the streets and roads. And over the weekend we have this storm, and I hate to pick on this trooper that got hit in the state of Utah, but it just highlights in my mind the importance of situational awareness as we look at this poor guy getting hit. Fortunately, he wasn't seriously injured, and he's still on the job today, but it could have been far worse. What is our situational awareness? Does it change when snow hits the road? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm gonna keep moving along. So law enforcement has been compared to 99% boredom and 1% terror, where you're out there and it's just a super boring job day in, day out, but 1% of the time it can be absolutely terrifying and your life's on the line. So how do I balance 99% of boredom and 1% of terror? It's practicing situational awareness techniques. What is it that's risky to me when I'm doing a traffic stop? And what are those factors? It could be something as simple as this car has dark tint and I can't see what's happening inside of there. So that is a risk that I have to take into account. What is it? Dark tint. How bad is it? I don't know, but it could be really bad if somebody in that car means me ill intent. And what do I do about it? Well, I'm going to use my appropriate techniques. I'm going to shield myself, and I'm going to be ready to take evasive action one way or another. Okay. All right. The next part is on driving. We all pretty much are out driving. We just did a defensive driving course here a couple of months ago, and we talked about distractions that we have. Situational awareness also pertains to driving. And some of the techniques that we talked about in that were playing what if games. Can I predict what that other driver is going to do? Give yourself an out, making sure I have an exit path if somebody makes a bad decision, giving myself sufficient space cushion in the event somebody makes a bad decision, but taking in the information that is available to me. I'm driving down the road, and I've given this example a lot, but hopefully people will practice this. I see it's nighttime, it's dark, and I look ahead and I see a reflector flash dark on the side of the road just for an instant. Well, what do? I take my foot off the gas and I slow down, because there may be a deer that just walked in front of that delineator post, and it's standing in the middle of the road now. So I'm aware. What is it? How bad is it? What do I need to do about it? And those are the techniques that we practice in situational awareness. Some people may say, what the heck are you talking about? Cybersecurity and under situational awareness? Well, our cyber environment is a risky environment, and we're constantly being pounded with phishing scams, spear phishing, various different things, trying to get our information, trying to steal money from us. And so we have to be aware of what those risks are. I fell for one day, kind of. Walked across the street over to North Salt Lake City offices, and going over there to do a regularly scheduled visit. I just had an appointment there. Before I go into any visits, I have a habit. I pull out my phone and I check my email to make sure, is there anything burning or texts or anything like that that I need to take care of before I go into this appointment. Well, there was an email from the CEO of the trust, Steve Hansen, and it said, Jason, I need to talk to you right away. And it was time for my appointment. So I just replied to the email quickly. I said, just going into an appointment. I'll talk to you as soon as I'm done. Since I was in North Salt Lake, it was just across the street. I came back across the street, walked into Steve's office and said, Steve, what did you need? And he said, what are you talking about? I said, you emailed me and said we needed to talk? He's like, I didn't send you an email. And I said, uh-oh. I just was had on a spear phishing scam. Now, I didn't give him any money. I didn't give him any information or anything like that, but I wasn't paying attention. I went back and looked at that email, and when I hovered over the email address, it said Steve Hansen. It said Steve Hansen. And when I hovered over it, though, that was not his email address. It was somebody trying to gain my confidence and then who knows what. So if your boss asks you to wire them money or buy gift cards or things like that, that's a situational awareness opportunity or risk in our virtual environment. So I have to be aware of those things. And just a reminder, only use your devices after you determine that the place that you're in is safe. We have a problem with these devices, and I have the challenge just as much as anyone, because I'm tuned in and we're constantly communicating one way or another. But don't be turn on phone, turn off brain. Let's prepare ourselves and make sure we're safe before we ever use that. How do I turn this on and off? Well, I find it really easy to turn it off. You put me in the lazy boy and I can turn my situational awareness off pretty quickly. How do I turn it on? And that's really what I challenge you to do today, is work on triggers to help with your situational awareness. When you come into a new location, that's much easier. But when I'm in my normal environment, maybe I'm walking out into the public workshop, how do I turn on my situational awareness? There may be some trigger that we place. It may be something in the work environment that you walk in and there's a sign that says safety first, and I make that a mental trigger for me. Oh, I need to do my situational awareness check. What's going on here? It may be something that we practice. And I would challenge you today to come up with something like that. Take your pen and make a mark on the back of your hand. I put some dots on the back of my hand. And every time I look at that today, I'm going to do a situational awareness check. And I may close my eyes. That's a great way to practice. Okay, where are you? What are your hazards? What's around you? What information do you have? How important is it? How bad is it? And what are you going to do about it? Some people will put a band on their hand, just a bracelet or something like that, that will get their attention and periodically help them maintain their awareness. One other good challenge is a simple one-day challenge of putting an alarm on your phone. So your phone will beep once per hour, and it will remind you to do that situational awareness check. And as you have that minute, look for hazards. If you find a hazard, do something about it. Well, there's a cord across a walkway. Pick it up, hang it up. There's somebody spilled something on the floor. Well, I'm going to take a second, get a paper towel, and clean that spill up so nobody slips on it. Okay, could be there's something stored precariously on a shelf. Well, it's been there for a while, but I'm going to fix it. I'm going to make sure it's not going to fall off and hurt me or somebody else. Okay, here is a list of ways that we can help develop our situational awareness. Due to time, I'm going to go through these pretty quick, but try to learn to predict events. What's going to happen next? Identify those risks around you. Trust your gut. There's a reason why we get those feelings that say something isn't right here. And I like the saying, when in doubt, get out. If it isn't right, back away and let's figure out what's going on. It may be okay, but take those gut feelings and give them some credence, because there's probably a reason that you're feeling like somebody's watching you or something isn't quite right. Try to limit the number of stressors or the amount of information that's coming in to us, and that's going to help us focus. Be aware of time. That's one thing in our virtual world with our phones and computers. It's easy to lose track of time, and you can do exercises on that. Once again, setting an alarm for every half hour, it beeps. Well, what does that help me do? It helps me maintain my time awareness. Okay. All right. Continually assess your situation. You walk into a new place, ask yourself, where's the exit? Where's the fire extinguisher? If something bad happens, where do I go? Okay. And then look at the performance of other people. Help them with their situational awareness and say, hey, did you notice this was a risk to you? Okay. So practice, practice, practice. Like I said, we're fighting between our fight and flight and our normalcy bias. And our job is to practice this and keep that awareness up day in, day out. So take that one-day drill. I challenge you today to set that 1-hour timer and check your awareness and see what's going on. As an ongoing thing, maybe you have a bracelet or something that you wear on a regular basis. Make that your trigger for situational awareness. All right, where am I? What's going on around me? What's a risk? What am I going to do about it? Okay. So just as a challenge today, identify a hazard today. Open your mind up, open your eyes up, identify a hazard and fix it if you can. If you can't, report it to your supervisor, warn others about this hazard. Supervisors, write down a list of your hazards that are in the work area, and then let's come up with a plan to correct what those hazards are. Supervisors, if you can gather the hazards that people in your area have identified, let's put them on a list and let's work on those things. Little by little, we make our workplaces safer by doing that. Managers, if you find yourself in that position, follow up on these things. Ask individual staff members, hey, what did you identify for your hazard today? What did you notice in working on situational awareness today? Managers, ask your supervisors for their list. What are we going to do to make our overall work environment safer and better? Okay, that's really the overall material for today. I challenge you to take some action. I love training. I think it's important, but I'm realistic enough to realize that if you don't do something with the material that you're trained on, it may not be of great value. So go out today and use this information. Set a challenge. I'm going to identify a hazard. I'm going to look at my awareness in whatever environment I'm in, and change my life, and maybe save my life one of these days. Okay, that's the presentation for today. Mike, do we have any questions?
No questions.
No questions yet. If you got a question, go ahead and type those into the chat box, and we'll answer those right now. I've gone a little bit over time. Apologize for that, folks. That happens sometimes with me. I get into a subject and I like it a little bit. So, Megan, you're very welcome. Looks like that. Okay. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for your time. We'll wrap it up since I've gone a little bit long. Don't see any more questions coming in. Appreciate all you do out there. Appreciate your efforts making your workplace safer, and in reality, making Utah a safer place. We look around at the impact of trust members around the state and what we can do there. We can change the entire state by your actions day in and day out. And I not only believe that, I've seen that happen over and over again as we've done different things through the year. Please let's make a commitment to safety and go out and have a safe day. Thanks, folks.